God, I actually feel like hell right now. I'll be fine, but I just do not feel good at all.
Anything I can do to help you out, David?
No, I think I'm getting sick again. It seems to happen a lot, but I'll survive. Nurgle's come at me twice before, and I've beaten him both times. I still need to talk about something in Warhammer, though, so...
Are you talking about the Black Templars?
I'm sorry? Why do you want me to talk about the Black Templars, exactly?
Spite. I just really don't like them.
I can really understand that, but we'll talk about a faction that pisses me off more. And for those who've been following my Twitter account, the Thousand Sons.
I feel hatred too.
I don't know what interactions you and Magnus have had, and I'm not about to look it up. Instead, we're going to talk about their tabletop rules, and it's a lot. So, jumping into the depths of hell, we'll start with their army rule. Cabal of Sorcerers. Essentially, depending on what's in your list at the moment, you'll get so many points. These points refill every one of your command phases. They don't stack on top of each other, they just refill. You can spend these points on various different things, but you can only use each ability once per round. One lets you reroll saves, another lets you double move, another gives you a free stratagem, the fourth gives you a sort of super smite, and the last gives you super armor penetration. Now, keep in mind, only a character unit with this ability can use said ability, but they can use the abilities on nearby allies. Each of these seem to be pretty great options, but the army rule itself does require that you have sorcerers, which actually isn't an issue because all their characters are sorcerers or daemon princes, and even then, all characters have the ability. Each unit with the ability has a number next to it, and that's how many points one unit will generate. Each character generates different numbers and you combine them all. But do be warned, there's one character that has two versions, just like the Space Wolves they hate.
Huh, that's actually hilarious.
Yeah, and it's essentially the exact same difference. The difference between themselves and give them some extra speed and the fly keyword. Doesn't change much, and it does make me wonder if it's really worth the points price. Now, their index is Cult of Magic, with the detachment rule of Kindred Sorcery. This works similar to Gladius Task Force or the Black Spear Detachment. Hate. But you're actually capable of doing this multiple times. All of the sub-abilities apply only to psychic weapons, though. During the command phase, you can give all psychic weapons the Lethal Hits ability, another gives Sustained Hits 1, and the last gives Devastating Wounds. These last the entire round and does imply that the buffs during your opponent's charge and fight, and also to your Overwatch rolls too. Given how many flamers you can put into rubrics, this is pretty stupid powerful. But we've still got to talk about enhancements. These are really expensive. The cheapest one is 20 points and there's two of them. Then there's a 25-point one and a 35-point. Let's go into them. Athenian Scrolls, God that was hard to spell, for 20 points gives you extra Cabal points, which is always nice. Next, for 20 points again, Umbralific Crystal, God that was hard to pronounce, and it essentially lets you uppy downy. It only functions once per battle though, unfortunately. For 25 points, we'll hit up the Arcane Vortex. Finally, something I can actually read and write. This one gives the model an extra strength and damage to their psychic weapons, so that's pretty easy to take. 25 points worth? Yeah, I think so, especially on a Space Marine weapons, which tend to lack. And the last one, Lord of Forbidden Lore, is 35 points. This one lets you use one of the rituals stated earlier in this video twice. So this is great, one that can be broken in certain situations. The fact that there's really no enhancements that are really bad is actually terrifying. Normally I can point out some things with it that aren't good, but all of these are ultimately worth it. Even if they're a little pricey, they're fine. Now we go into stratagems. So I'm about halfway through with this video at this point. So 1 command point, Psychic Dominion. Any attacks made against your unit with psychic weapons have the hazardous ability too, and you get a feel no pain for up against psychic weapons. This is almost never going to come up because psychic weapons are only really common with Inquisitors specifically, or Grey Knights, and that's about it. 1 point, Destined by Fate. It lets you change a damage characteristic used against the Psyker this is used on to 0. This is always a nice thing to go with, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make it cost 2 points when the Codex comes out. 1 point, Devastating Sorcery, usable during your shooting phase on a Psyker unit. It lets you reroll hit rolls and wound rolls made by psychic attacks. These are always nice, and the fact that some characters let you use this stratagem multiple times as well could lead to a situation you've got this just sweeping the field. Ensorcelled Infusion is next at 1 point, and back to the weird spellings and words. Usable during your own shooting phase, it gives the psychic ability to Inferno weapons, and makes their strength characteristic 5. Given this combines with the Gladius-like but better detachment rule, this can be really good. Sorcerer's Might is also in your shooting phase, and it extends your Psyker unit weapons an extra 9 inches of range. So, hey, shoot them across the battlefield, I guess. Finally, for 2 points, is Warp Sight. Same phase, and gives psychic weapons the indirect fire and ignores cover ability, which is always nice, even after getting their nerf to the indirect fire stuff. Again, all of these stratagems are pretty good aside from the Psychic Dominion one, because that is a very narrow use case against very specific enemies. Hell, there's some factions that absolutely no psychics at all, like Tau and Necrons. But all in all, I can see why the Thousand Suns are top of the leaderboards. I'm expecting the points changes coming in the near future to absolutely shoot this faction in the face, but I don't think it'll do much more than make me question if GW actually understands that cost doesn't really determine power, it just determines value if bringing it. Hell, I know I could talk about their announcement for the Death Watch changes, but I think they're just going to re-add the kill teams to the Imperial agents and nothing more. It's very likely, given how GW just doesn't really understand the bigger issues. But at least for the first time in decades, it seems they've actually shown that they listen. I wonder how pissed their shareholders are. I am looking forward to seeing what they have to say to their shareholders. I'm one of the few people I know that actually understands that stuff. So maybe I'll talk about it when it happens. Who knows?
Time to shove off?
Yeah, I'm tired, I'm sick. Shove off.